Welcome to NBA Today. He is our NBA reporter, Tim McMahon. Howdy, partner.
Howdy.
Y'all don't know how big my head is, do you?
Not me either. I don't know.
The only thing, you want the sparkly one,
Not to mention the fact, man, this is a serious gel job I did this morning. We can't be messing that up.
The hair looks fabulous. The only thing better than having one Tim is having two. We have Tim Legler, three-time champ, Udonis Haslem. I'm Malika Andrews. Fellas, can you believe we're 32
Howdy,
days
y'all.
from the postseason? I do like saying howdy. Teams, they clearly got the memo because it was a playoff-like atmosphere throughout the association, but particularly why we're wearing these cowboy hats in the wild, wild west. That's where the seating changes every single night. You guys know I'm a cowgirl, so get on your steeds and let's roll. The Rockets, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Lakers, the Grizzlies, the Kings, the Timberwolves all in action. Let's do a little Western roundup, shall we? We start with the Rockets, who entered Monday as a second seed UD in the West, but Quentin Grimes was on a mission.
Yeah, 46 point last night. Has been averaging 20 points since he's been in Philly right now. 4 30-point games. 2 40-point games. I'm interested to see how long he sticks around.
And thanks to those 46 points, the Rockets found themselves in a 25-point hole here. The last time they overcame a deficit like that, it was the Russ James Harden era. Can they climb back out again? So we pick it back up as we head back to last night with 5 seconds remaining here, just over in the fourth quarter. Jabari Smith Jr. at the free throw line here. Watch out for Şengün on this one, UD.
Oh, he's too small. He's too small. You got to do whatever you got to do. The game is on the line right now. You got to grab him, kick him, bite him, whatever you got to do.
I'm not sure what kind of box out that was, but baby Jokic, as Perk says, is taking advantage. So to overtime we go, Udonis. Again, the game tied at 131 here. Watch Şengün.
Once again, small matchup. That's what you got to do. Beat him up inside. I know we like to shoot a lot of threes, but when you have a mismatch, take advantage.
And this one right here would ice the game. Jalen Green hits the three, so the Houston Rockets complete the comeback 144-137, and they stay at that second seed in the Western Conference. So the Nuggets and the Warriors, Denver third in the West, Golden State sixth entering tonight. It was time for Aaron Gordon in this one.
Aaron Gordon dialing up a 38-point game when he has to have it, and just recently having missed almost a month to be able to come out and dial it up to this extent, and they needed every one of these points really in this game. Special night.
With no Nikola Jokic, no Jamal Murray, no Christian Brown. By the way, huge night for Russell Westbrook as well. His 203rd career triple-double. Jokic, you got to get back in the lineup if you want to catch his record. He'll get there eventually. All right, onward we go. Memphis and Sacramento here. No Ja Morant for the fourth-seeded Grizzlies. The third quarter, this was a tough moment here for the Sacramento Kings. Domantas Sabonis legs, twists his ankle going for the layup. Just another look at this right here.
And that's all the way over. You see that outside of that ankle touch the court, you know that's going to be some swelling, and we'll see how long he's going to be out.
Yeah, you have to wonder how that's going to impact their pursuit of the play-in and playoffs. Malik Monk hits the wing three, so he finished with 28. The Kings get the win here, and Sacramento is in that 9th spot right now. All right, let's check in on the Spurs and the Lakers. The 5th-seeded Lakers, still without LeBron James. Luka Doncic, you know how he loves that rim-running big.
That's his favorite big to play with. That's what he had in Dallas, 2 of them. He's got one here in L.A. as well. You see Luka with a smile on his face for that reason.
And then Austin Reeves, he's had 4 straight games with at least 25 points. Luka, high praise for his new teammate.
Well, he's an amazing player. For him to go undrafted is unbelievable. And, you know, it's not easy to go undrafted and then play at this level. And it's amazing just to be by his side.
Okay, we've been racing through all of these highlights as the Lakers get to win, and we still haven't gotten to the game of the night here. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they entered this game on an 8-game winning streak, kicking it back out to Mike Conley here. Hey, Legs, did you know the bank's open?
Bank is open. Apparently, Obi Toppin must go to that same bank because he hit after hours, too. Oh.
Cha-ching! Obi Toppin, there was no stopping in overtime here. Once again, watch Obi Toppin in the corner here. Kicks it back out.
Can't play better defense. That's just an incredible shot. A night when a guy had a lot more freedom to take shots because the starters were out. Look at this. Tyrese Halliburton. Same exact play to beat the Bucks.
Eerily familiar on the opposite side of the court a week ago. And then watch here. The Pacers able to get their hand on the inbounds pass here. So Julius Randle can't quite get the look that he liked here. The Minnesota Timberwolves streak comes to an end. Here's Coach Chris Finch on the Wolves' loss.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game we lost in the first half, just with our energy, and our decision-making was poor. So now you create a team, you know, it's already a really good offensive team, and they get the confidence to kind of get it all cranked up, and that's when you see the shots go in. I mean, there were some big time shot making by them, but they felt that comfort pretty much all game.
So the Wolves have been rolling lately. They won 8 straight prior to last night, but their clutch time struggles, they popped up again. The 24 clutch time losses this season, they're the most of any team in the association. So I think it's time for a little bit of Legler's Lab on how the shorthanded Pacers took down the NBA's hottest team. Legs, what's bubbling in your beaker?
All right, Malika, let's get in the lab. I'm over here with UD, and we're going to talk about the anatomy of winning and losing in late game situations. And I know UD has a lot to say about Minnesota's last possession in regulation, what they probably should have gotten, what they ended up getting instead. So let's just start off right here. And I think, UD, you want to point out what action are they trying to get here off the inbound?
I mean, everybody knows that the ball is going to Anthony Edwards, so that's no surprise to anybody right now. So what first thing you're going to do is we're going to zipper him up right now with the pin down. So as we zipper him up,
Going to get this down screen. You want Anthony Edwards coming up, catching the basketball, and then hopefully he makes the right read.
We're going to zipper him up on the down screen. So the ball is in Anthony Edwards' hand right here. Pause it right here. So now, as we see this guy come up right here and try to get the ball out of Anthony Edwards' hands, the first mistake he makes is Ant can see him. He can look right at him. So if this is LeBron James or Luka Doncic, they're immediately going to attack the weak side right now. So he should have waited till Anthony went to the left and then came up so he can attack from his blind side. So Ant can see him right now. So that's the first mistake Indiana made. Now, secondly, Ant should be attacking the right side because this is where he has the advantage right here with Julius Randle and Jaden Daniels. Now we can fast forward it.
One guy playing 2 on the backside.
One guy playing 2 on the backside. This is where the advantage here. He goes to the opposite side. Now he puts himself as at a disadvantage. He goes away from the side where there are less defenders right now. So now he goes to the side where you have 1, 2, 3, 4 defenders. Jaden Daniels does what he's supposed to do. He pulls out of the corner. Mind you, he had just hit the 3 that sent it to 115 before it went into overtime, shooting 40% from 3 right now. So Indiana made a mistake by over-rotating early, taking away Julius Randle too early. This guy should have been playing 2 right here in between. He rotated over, took away Julius Randle too early, left Jaden Daniels wide open to the pool, 40% three-point shooter. This is the maturation for Anthony Edwards. This is the next step. LeBron James, Luka Doncic, guys like that, those guys make that play.
You see how crowded it is over there? I put this at the end. Julius Randle, when this ball goes off to him, his head goes down because he's frustrated with the shot they got. Now you go to overtime. So this is what Minnesota did wrong. What did Indiana do right? Starts off here at the beginning of this possession, you had Anthony Edwards picking up the hot hand on the court, Obi Toppin. So this is his man right here. Weak side, we got these 2 guys matched up. Now you're going to see TJ McConnell is going to get that brush screen. He's going to try to get some penetration along the baseline to force a reaction on the weak side. And actually, Minnesota does a pretty good job. Right here, you see a recognition of this screen, which means now there's a switch. So now Obi Toppin is guarded right here on the weak side of the floor. Anthony Edwards doesn't fully commit, but he's going to help a little bit on this penetration. But here is ultimately what gets Obi Toppin free. The fact that he continued to come up the floor before he reverses direction. By doing that, he freezes this defender right here. And now, as a result, he gets there almost in time, but not quite. Now, look, this is a ridiculously difficult shot. It's pretty good defense, actually great defense in the corner. But at this point, Obi Toppin had already hit 3 threes late in the game and into overtime. So this is the hot hand at all costs. You've got to keep it off the three-point line because a 3 beats you, a 2 forces a second overtime. You can't even let a catch happen in that situation for the hottest hand on the court, which was Obi Toppin. Great execution by Indiana, a breakdown for Minnesota defensively and offensively. As a result, they lose a tough game.
The margins in the West are razor thin, and that is the difference between moving up and being John Mayer, free-falling. After the dust settled on Monday, this is where the postseason picture is. The Rockets, they used their 7th straight win to leap up to that 2nd spot in the West. Now, the Grizzlies, they dropped to 5th. They're just behind the Lakers by percentage points. Everyone, though, still way behind the Thunder. So, Tim McMahon, we're just going to call you the non-California Western-based reporter. You literally cover every Western team besides the ones that are based here. We know the Thunder, they've separated themselves as an elite contender here. But after them, I don't know. Who's the 2nd best team in the West?
Yeah, and you could go for 4 or 5 different teams here. I don't cover Golden State. That's a good thing for the Warriors because I've been in the building the 2 times that they've lost with Jimmy Butler in uniform.
You.
Well, maybe, including last night. But I'm going to go with Golden State here. Obviously, playoff Jimmy is a thing because we've seen him before. But more than anything else, Steph Curry, last night, Steve Kerr talked about how tired he is. They've got to get him some rest, got to get his battery recharged. But he's still playing at the peak of his powers. Him and Draymond Green, 4-time champions. I just think they have and the pedigree to be the biggest threat to Oklahoma City.
I got to argue with you on that one. This is no Jimmy hate, but I would say that the record has been a little bit favorable to Golden State right now. I'm looking at the record of the teams that they've played, and we're talking about 312 wins to 364 losses. I would argue that some of these teams they probably could have beat without Jimmy. Now, Jimmy has given them a boost. It's like a shot of whiskey right now, but we'll see if it lasts throughout the playoffs.
Look, there was a time I thought it was clearly Denver. There was a time that I thought Denver. There was a time I thought it was clearly Golden State. I can make an argument for any of those teams, but I think the strongest argument is for the Lakers with a healthy LeBron. When you look at their body of work defensively as a team prior to his injury and the way they just were climbing rungs in the ladder in terms of their defensive metrics, it got to the point you bought in to the Los Angeles Lakers being good enough defensively, and none of us thought that halfway through the season. In addition to the way LeBron and Luka were starting to mesh offensively. And then the final component for me, it's time we start talking about Austin Reeves as one of the best third options in this league. That's how good he has become. I look at the Lakers and what they were doing before LeBron got hurt, and I think that might be my strongest argument, assuming LeBron James is healthy when he gets back.
It changes by the day. On paper, it's the Lakers. I think push comes to shoves in the playoffs. They have two guys that you just absolutely don't want to see. You add Austin Reeves into that mix, and they are looking like the second best team. The problem is the Thunder have built a lead in this Western Conference that makes everybody else a distant second. All right, I need a second to catch my breath. We got to a lot in that first block of our show, and we still have a lot to get to. Garden, after a 10-day West Coast road trip hosting the Miami Heat, Karl Anthony Towns, he took center stage, which brings us to today's electric moment, brought to you by Hyundai. Because Karl Anthony Towns, right here, Tim Legler, bullies his way inside, but watch the ticker at the bottom of your screen here. He would just rack up the consecutive points here for the New York Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, this was their offense. You know, no Jalen Brunson, you know he's going to get a lot of touches, so he took over, particularly late first into the second quarter, carried that all the way through the rest of the half, and it's where New York got some separation.
Towns up to 9 consecutive points now. A minute later, same score. Campaign drives it, kicks it to Towns at the top of the key. He drains a three. He's having his own 12-0 run now, but he wouldn't stop there. The Knicks' next possession, Hart finds Towns by the logo, where he shoots the 31-foot three. Here's what he had to say about that deep three.
If I was one step through from the half court, I was shooting it, so I was letting it fly.
He said, that's where I want it, UD.
I mean, it's easy to shoot it when you open. You got to come together and switch up, and those guys in that locker room know that.
To the third quarter here. That sounds a little personal, UD. Hart finds Mikal Bridges, drives to the layup. Bridges game high 28 points. The Knicks starting to really roll here. Hart drains the three. Hart had 12 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists, his 8th triple-double this season, tying Wilt Frazier for the most in a season in Knicks history, by the way. Karl Anthony Towns putting the finishing touches on this. He had 23 in the game, and the Knicks get the win here. A lot was made about the Knicks starters' workload, and last night was one way to maybe bridge the gap. All 5 Knicks starters played 32 minutes or less against Miami. It's just the second time this season the Knicks starters all played that little in the same game. So according to ESPN Analytics, the Knicks have a 98.6% chance of being the 3 seed in the East. Legs, what do you believe that would be a successful season for the Knicks, who have the Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics in their same conference?
Realistically, you're looking at it this way. They're going to play the Celtics in the second round, assuming they both win their first round series. Now, look, if the Knicks lose, let's just hypothetically say they play the 6 seed Pistons. They lose to the Pistons in the first round and Jalen Brunson's back. That's disastrous end to the year. Assume they win that series. You're going to play the Celtics in the second round. Now, what's realistic to expect? A long, tough, competitive series in which you lose is as far as this season is going. They're not going to beat the Boston Celtics. And I also think Jalen Brunson, by the way, he's going to come back from this ankle. That doesn't mean he won't be bothered by it to a certain extent, or maybe just a little bit less explosive, a little bit less quick, maybe a little bit less lift on his jump shot. Probably the rest of the postseason, that could slow him down a little bit, making that second round loss even more likely. But look, if that's a sweep or a 5-game series, that also to me is a disastrous end to the year.
I'm not going to even talk about second round. We're going to talk about first round. And first things first, this is championship expectations. You move you bring Cat in, you move Julius Randle, you move DiVincenzo. You make those moves. You sell your soul a little bit, Tibbs, because you're a defensive guy, but you bring in more offense. You do that because you want to win a championship. Now, I like those Thundercats out of Detroit. I'm looking at that matchup, and they're sharpening their swords, and they are waiting for this matchup. They are excited about this matchup. Cade Cunningham, Malik Beasley, those guys are ready for this matchup. Jalen Brunson coming in or not, that ankle's not going to be ready till the summertime. We all know that, so he is not going to be healthy. I'm looking at Detroit, and I'm saying this could be a first-round exit for New York.
UD, you say championship expectations. I'm going to say championship ambitions. Nobody has watched the Knicks and said this looks like a championship team this season. And look, if they get bounced in the first round, if it's a 5-game flop even in the second round, then it is a massive failure. What's a success? I don't know, but the ceiling is a competitive second-round series against the Boston team.
But all of that needs Jalen Brunson to be healthy. And our own Cassidy Hubbarth reported that he's going to be out for another week or so, and he's still in a boot right now, but doing some light shooting. You both touched on this. What can you expect from a player who has that type of usage coming back from an injury like this?
I don't like hearing that. Still in a boot? I mean, you understand once that comes off, first of all, he's going to have stiffness in that ankle the rest of the season. There's just nothing you can do about that. And Jalen Brunson is not a blur, right? He's a guy that uses strength, balance, and IQ, and great shooting touch. He needs every ounce of quickness he has. If you lose even a little bit and you're Jalen Brunson, that makes everything more of a slog offensively, where you're just constantly harassed and you're in traffic all the time. He could be facing that the rest of the way. Look, you go out and get Cat to offset some of that. But I think to UD's point, you're talking about a Detroit Pistons team, even in the first round, that's going to challenge you defensively. But assuming they were to win that, you're not getting past the Boston Celtics unless Jalen Brunson is absolutely 100%. And even then, I wouldn't pick him to win that series.
I mean, and you got to look at what New York has done, so far offensively. I mean, out of this world. The offensive numbers, Cat can get his buckets against anybody. If you're small, he's going to post you. If you're big, he's going to shoot the three. So offense is not going to be a problem. I think the Detroit series is going to come down to toughness. And we saw a little bit of that between Tibbs and Josh Hart. So we know the toughness is sprinkled in there. But if at the end of the day, I'm going with Detroit basketball on this one.
This is what you're referring to, this
battle of locker room I want to be in. Put me in this locker room. Put me in this locker room.
Of sentiments between Tibbs and Josh Hart, and we've seen this a couple of times with Josh Hart and Tibbs rather, and a couple of his players here. But their defense has gotten better since Mitchell Robinson has entered the lineup. And some folks are saying, well, why were you playing Karl Anthony Towns so many minutes of a fourth quarter where they were up by so much? Well, it's because I would think Tibb wants to see that double big lineup. Those two had only played 9 minutes together total entering last night. They played 9 minutes together in the fourth quarter alone. So getting a larger sample size there, I would think, is what he's thinking. You mentioned Detroit. Let's bounce around the league a bit and we'll get there. We had some big stories drop, though, in the last 24 hours. Let's go coast to coast to catch you up. The Sixers, they announced that they're shutting down Paul George for the season. He dealt with knee, groin, finger issues throughout the year. PG, he does turn 35 in March and has 3 more years left on his max deal. Do you think that this Philly situation, words, we have them, is salvageable?
Hell no. That situation is over. It's time to move on. We need to figure out what to do next. You probably can't move Joel Embiid, but I think Paul George still has some value out here. And I also want to see what they do with Quinn Grimes right now. He's playing his butt off right now, averaging 20 a game, has had more 20, and also he's a restricted free agent.
The Mavericks, they've sent Anthony Davis to their G League affiliate, the Texas Legends, to help him prepare for his return. So, Tim, what specifically is he doing, and could we see him make a return soon?
Yeah, they sent him down there to practice, to get some 5-on-5 work in. This week he's really testing that. He is steadfast in his determination to want to return this season, maybe as soon as next week, despite the fact that there are people within the Mavericks organization that have tried to talk him out of it, said the risk-reward's not there. There are people who would rather shut him down for the season. AD's not trying to hear all that.
Interesting. Okay, that's something we will continue to monitor. All right, you guys mentioned Detroit. Let's head to New Orleans. Did y'all see JB Bickerstaff's rant this weekend? Unfortunately for the Pelicans, the Pistons, they were ready last night. Unfortunate moment, though, here for the Pelicans early on. This is their first possession of the game. Trey Murphy III, he drives, and then look here, he falls to the floor, grabs his shoulder in pain. He left the game, later revealed to have a torn labrum in his right shoulder. So he's going to miss the remainder of the season. This has just been a rough injury go here for the Pelicans. Cade Cunningham, though, he's worried about other things. The no look at that.
No look, Cade Cunningham, usually the guy that's rewarding runners with that type of passing. That time somebody hooks him up.
This is what you're referring to. Zion looking like the Zion we have expected to see. This is one of our big 3 plays of the night. nominees here. Then under 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, the Pistons up by 37 here. The Pistons go on to get the win 127-81, absolutely rolling. They may be the most positive surprise, because certainly you could talk about Philly or the Suns. This is the most positive surprise of the league this season. They're closing in on a winning record. They have had some key wins, where the Warriors lost last night to the Nuggets team that was without Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Christian Brown. Denver had held Steph, to 20 points on 4 of 14 shooting from 3 in his 36 minutes. After the game, he shared his thoughts on Curry's workload lately.
Steph's been carrying us for a month. He's been amazing. He's tired, so we got to get him. We got to get him some rest. I just you can see it. He doesn't have his energy right now.
It's game 68. I think we're all tired. It's the reality, the NBA. So we just got to all figure out a way.
It's okay to be tired, and that's on myself and that's on us as a unit to pick up the slack for him. He's, as everybody wants to think that he is superhuman, he is not. He is our leader, and we must protect him at all times. I will tell you that. So that's on myself for sure, but everybody else to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and give my man a break.
We just want to not be in the play-in, so whatever we got to do, we got to figure it out.
Completely that he's tired. I said that in the Sacramento game the other night. He was basically played in a box and won in that game, and he kind of succumbed to it. He went to the weak side of the floor, allowed himself to be phase guarded, and said go play 4-on-4, and ended up putting up big numbers on the Kings and beating him anyway. He looked exhausted last night. I agree with it. What's interesting is they said Jimmy Butler was going to alleviate that. It maybe not yet, because the burden Steph carried all year. Here's the thing. They talk about this play-in. Here's why it's so important. You're not just talking about the difference between 6 and 7. Where now you're 7, you will go host that 7-8 game. They could be 8. The Clippers are 1 game behind them right now. So if you fall to the 8 spot, you got to go on the road for that game. Your season you have another chance then in the 9-10. But if you're in that spot, you're playing the Thunder in the first round. That is why it is so important to hold on to the 6, and that's why last night was a golden opportunity with Minnesota losing to the Pacers, and you playing the Nuggets that shorthanded and you don't get the win. That's a lost opportunity.
And Steph came into the game questionable, so you had to know that he wasn't 100%, that there was a calculation made, okay, we're going to go for the jugular in this game where the Nuggets are shorthanded, and it didn't come to fruition. The numbers say that Jimmy Butler has helped a little bit with Steph Curry, but this is a guy he's 37, in constant motion. So how do you balance this pursuit of the play-in, Udonis, but also Steph's health?
Whew. That's a tough one, because you do not want to be in a play-in. But what I will say is last night was going to be a tough game for Jimmy regardless. When you talk about Aaron Gordon, when you talk about Russell Westbrook, you're talking about guys that have size, speed, athleticism. Those are the kind of guys that Jimmy struggled with. Smaller guards, he can overpower. Bigger guys, he can usually get around. Those guys that usually have that balance of both, those are teams Jimmy struggled with. Guys that are switchable matchup that can guard him in the post and can guard him on the perimeter. So hopefully that's not a matchup they're going to have, but OKC has wing defenders. They have Caruso. They have Dort. They have these lengthy, long wing defender guys. And then Houston has that as well. So neither one of those teams in the first round is going to play out well for Golden State. So in my opinion, move up as high as you can and get out of there. Move up as high as you can. You can't rest. You can't do both. You have to pick one. You figure it out after that.
But they've got to give him a chance to finish the regular season strong. He might need a rest night tonight. I mean, you can see the mental fatigue in him. Some of those turnovers were incredibly sloppy. The kind of the one that I knew, okay, the Nuggets are actually going to win this game is when Steph threw a one-hand, lefty underhand lob to I don't know who. It looked like somebody, playing cornhole about 6 beers in.
Hey, I'm pretty good in that.
I was going to say, raise your hand if you have experience.
Like a cornhole team. Look at our uniforms.
I'm better 6 beers in.
2 to 5, you're good. Once you get to 6, 7, 8, you're
now that's the golf course, what you're describing.
Look, 5 or 6, they're good in the seeding. 7 or 8, they're in trouble because you need Steph fresh for the playoffs. And the time to rest for him is when other teams are playing in the play-in. You don't want him having to play those games with the Warriors season on the line and then turn right back around and deal with Lou Dort or Amin Thompson or whoever it may be.
Jonathan Kuminga is back. Maybe he can alleviate some of that stress offensively off Steph. So they're getting a little bit more healthy.
Yeah.
Maybe that can help.
And this is a weird time of year when you talk about strength of schedule. The Warriors are pretty middle of the pack, but last night's game was supposed to be really difficult. No one plays. It's a weird time of year to look at that as some sort of indicator. Minnesota's supposed to have the easiest remaining schedule in the West. They drop one to the... So it's all sort of a little bit, as Stephen A. would say, fluid at this time of year. 30 years ago today,